Woj, let's start with just how this deal got done.
Well, listen, this was an idea hatched by both Kevin Durant and James Harden in the offseason when they were together playing pickup daily in Los Angeles. And James Harden went to the Rockets. He asked for the trade, said he wanted Brooklyn. He eventually expanded the list to 4 teams, but really the focus was Brooklyn and Philadelphia. And those were the 2 teams over the last 48, 72 hours before the trade that Houston was really focused on in trade talks. But ultimately for the Nets, their willingness to deliver Houston a multitude of first-round picks, 4 picks in all, including one that'll come from Cleveland, which is Milwaukee's first-round pick in 2022. That ultimately got the deal done, and now Brooklyn reunites. James Harden and Kevin Durant, obviously, they played together in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, went to the finals together once upon a time in OKC with Russell Westbrook as a part of that team as well. And just very quickly, what, if anything, does this mean as far as the Kyrie Irving situation is concerned?
Well, it means that Brooklyn now, with all 3 players eligible for free agency after next season, I think they can sleep a little better knowing that Kevin Durant, who is the focus of this organization, who they want to build it around, continue to build it around, that he has somebody in James Harden that they believe they can count on moving forward. And they hope that Kyrie Irving is a part of that too. But they need it as much as anything to be able to solidify Durant's future. And there is uncertainty right now about Kyrie Irving. He remains away from the team. There hasn't been significant communication between he and the team. And there's a lot of talking that's going to have to go on once he returns or as he returns. And I think for the Nets, not just having these 3 stars, but I think solidifying their future with Kevin Durant.
All right, we'll see where that goes. Woj, outstanding. Thank you. Let me now bring in Richard Jefferson, who knows all about playing on great teams, who played with Kyrie Irving in Cleveland, and you also work with the Nets and doing some of their games, so you know the ins and outs there. Let's live in a world where the 3 of them do come together first. Let's talk about that trio if they do play together. Can they win a championship this year?
I'm going to say they have a very good chance. I do believe that they could win a championship if we're talking about James Harden getting back in championship shape. If Kyrie Irving coming back and has the right, mentality and the right spirit to compete at that type of level. Because when you're trying to win a championship, it takes 100% of your focus, everything you eat, the way you sleep, everything that you think about. So if Kyrie Irving's, mind or spirit or whatever it is not in that place right now for whatever reason, then that's going to be very difficult. If James Harden stays in kind of in the shape that he's in right now, that's going to be very difficult. But if they come back and they all get physically and mentally right, then they're going to be a force to reckon with.
Well, let's talk about what they will look like together on the floor. KD and Harden, of course, they played together. We just heard Woj say that the 2 of them sort of orchestrated this. They wanted to play together. How do they work together now? We know KD is the most prolific scorer of his generation, and obviously Harden dominates the ball. How do they play together now?
Well, it's all about sacrifice. Whenever, Kevin Durant says that he's going to go to Golden State, or LeBron James and Chris Bosh say they're going to go to Miami, or you get Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett going to Boston. Whenever you get these big 3s, the first thing that you need to say is that there's going to be sacrifice. I'm going to have to average 25 instead of 35 if I'm James Harden. And a lot of it is going to be because some nights you should be blowing out teams, so you shouldn't be playing that much in the 4th quarter. This is a very different big 3 than we've seen in a long time. Even the one in Golden State, when you're talking about Clay, Steph, and Kevin Durant, they were all ball movers. They were shooters. They would run around and play off the ball. And you had guys that could feed them easy jump shots, and you couldn't double anywhere. Where these 3 players are all very, very good ball dominant players. So they're all going to have to tweak their game, shoot some more spot up shots. That's going to be the key thing. And last thing, if you're going to win a championship, even with a great offense, you need great defense. The Nets were already, in a kind of a struggle in their defensive area that was probably probably the one area that they want to improve on. So adding James Harden to that, obviously that's not a defensive improvement, it's an offensive improvement, but that's one of the areas that they'll need to address down the stretch.
Yes, no one has ever said, we got James Harden, our defense is going to be terrific. So let me then go to you on Kyrie. You played with him in Cleveland, and so you know him. It's such an understandable situation right now for so many people. What is your best sense of where this thing goes?
I truly and truly don't know. And I stand by this. You look at all the WNBA players that took time off to focus on social injustice. You look at all the NBA players that chose to not go into the bubble for, whether they just didn't have it in them. They just didn't, like, there was just too much going on. There was other areas that they wanted to focus in on. If Kyrie Irving wants to focus on something other than basketball, and he wants to focus on social injustice, if he wants to focus on social change, we 100% support him. The one issue is that there has to be 100% transparent communication. Kyrie Irving, even himself, donated $1 million to the WNBA fund to help pay for some of the salaries of the women that were sitting out to fight change. So we fully support Kyrie in that. But you can't have your head coach that you endorse sit down after you not show up for game one and have him say, well, I haven't spoke to Kyrie. I reached out to him. I haven't heard anything back. Since then, there has been communication. But ultimately, whatever Kyrie needs, if he needs time off, if he needs, to, seek and talk to somebody just to get whatever his passion is back. But Stephen A. said that basketball has not been a priority for Kyrie. And, right now that seems to kind of be the census.
I've got literally 15 seconds. But if he doesn't come back, or if he isn't a part of it, KD and Harden and what they have around them, what is that? Is that they win the East?
I think it's the second best tandem in the NBA behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So that makes them the best tandem in the Eastern Conference, which if they're healthy and they can build around them, then all of a sudden you look at a pretty good potential finals matchup.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.